I bring this meeting to order here Tuesday, July 11th, it being 6 p.m. in Memorial Hall. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. For those who are able, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We will begin with open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum?
I've never done open forum. Can you hear me?
Is that mic
Let me
on?
try that. This one?
Yeah, that's
Is that
good.
better? Okay. Never done open forum. Do I have to do my name and address?
Yes, you do.
Mark Silverberg, 7 Weld Street. I'm here as chair of the planning board to introduce our new town planner to the select board and to the people watching at home. I hope you don't barrage her with questions, but I wanted to give you a chance to see her face and know who will be taking the reins for helping us through everything we have to get done. So, all right, without further ado, this is Jenny Gingras, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. I am Jenny Gingras. I'm the new Director of Planning here. And so if you have any questions about me, I'll give you just a brief background of my experience. Most recently, I worked as the town planner for the town of Pepperell, which is a small community that you might not have heard of, but it's in north central Massachusetts. And then prior to that, I worked as the zoning administrator in the town of Lexington. So I have extensive experience with economic development, planning, zoning, code enforcement, and economic development. So I really look forward to working with the town of Westborough, and I've read through the master plan, not completely, I'll admit, but a lot of the different parts, and so I'm really excited to start work on a lot of those initiatives.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. I think you mentioned this is what, day 5?
I'm sorry?
This is your 5th day?
Yes.
Here, so
yes, I started last week, and I got a nice tour of Westborough for a couple days with Fred Leonardo, and that was great. I learned about all the projects that are ongoing right now or have started or just completed, and so that was great. It's a large town, a lot to cover, but there's a lot of good things happening.
Welcome. Any questions, any comments?
I'll just say welcome. Glad to have you. It's great to get you on board. As Mark, I don't know if he shared this with you, but I am the representative from the Select Board onto the Master Plan Implementation Committee, and I will share my thoughts. I think that committee is really looking forward to get started work with you. So, as you mentioned, there's a lot going on. Mark knows, I know the number, there's 205 items on our master plan list of things. So as you can imagine, a lot of them have already been done, but there's a lot of work to be done there, and I'm really looking forward to get started with you on the potential work that we're going to have ahead of us. So thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me, and yes, I look forward to working on the master plan.
Yeah, Jennifer, welcome. Really look forward to working with you and, hearing your ideas and that obviously of the planning board. And I think you'll find that our boards work collaboratively together where they need to. And I think that makes for healthy, relationships with businesses and homeowners and developers. So best of luck and welcome.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome as well, and you've come to a great community. Shelby stole some of what I was going to say, but it's something that we work very well together. It's something, we stay in our lanes. People have their responsibilities, but we're all here, working to make the town better and do the right things.
Right.
We hold people accountable, and I know the planning board does a great job with what they do, and we play our little part in terms of when we have reviews of site plans or anything that comes under our purview, but we look forward to working with you, and I think you'll find that you'll enjoy it here. It's a great town and really good people.
Yes, yeah, I've heard I've had big shoes to fill, but, I'm looking forward to it. And like you said, I mean, I think everyone has the common goal of making the town a better place to live and work in. So I'll keep that in mind.
Perfect.
And even though you're stepping into a role that was held by someone for decades, literally, this is also an opportunity to make your mark and to bring your perspective and wisdom and experience to bear. And so look forward to working with you as we go forward.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Jenny, thank you very much for coming today.
Yes, thanks.
Thank
You know where to find me if you have any other questions.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Anyone else for open forum today? All right. So, public hearing continues at 6:15.
Minutes.
Suggest start with minutes. We always start with minutes.
I'll move the approval of the meeting minutes of June 27th, 2023.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? 5-0.
It's like you don't have to do a roll call vote.
This won't help you, but we also do not have any interdepartmental transfers tonight, so you can
Okay.
cross that off.
All right. Let's see, do we want to do the extension of the intermunicipal agreement?
Sure.
Okay. Would you like to take that, Kristen?
Sure. So as the board's aware, for the last several years, we've had an intermunicipal agreement for animal control and animal inspection. It's with the towns of Grafton and Shrewsbury. In Shrewsbury, it's really a mutual aid sort of relationship where we just provide backup to them and they to us, and that's worked really well. With Grafton, we actually provide the coverage for animal control, so really having that full responsibility, and Grafton actually pays 38% of our animal control budget. So this year, when we added that part-time position, we made them aware that that assessment would go up, so we invoice them whatever that cost is, the 38%. So we would like to renew it. Right now it's an annual renewal up to 25 years, I think. And so we would like to renew it, and the towns of Shrewsbury and Grafton will also take that up this month.
Assuming they want to renew it too.
Yes.
Okay.
So I move to extend the intermunicipal agreement for animal control, animal inspector services between the towns of Shrewsbury, Grafton, and Westborough for 1 year with an expiration date of June 30, 2024.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Let's see, how about number 9, in-person testimony on Senate Bill 34, an act to modernize funding for community media programming.
Sure, I can take that. So as the board is aware, we were asked previously from the manager, Karen Henderson of the Westborough TV, to write a letter in support of the proposed Senate Bill 34 and House Bill, I believe it's 471. I apologize, I don't have that right in front of me, but it's a combined bill that is now at the joint. So the select board sent a letter, and then our town manager also sent a letter in support of the proposed bill. And this is what some people may refer to as the streaming bill. So as individuals sort of say, I don't want traditional cable services, but they're still using cable providers and the poles and the wires and all that which run through our town to stream services, that revenue is decreasing to Westborough TV, which is basically their operating budget, as individuals cut those cords. And a smaller portion of cable subscribers are actually footing the bill for that. So if this bill passes, the streaming companies would pay some amount that would flow back through and obviously help what we all know to be a very valuable service, not only for government, but certainly to kind of the many aspects of life that Westborough TV covers. So my ask to the board, I was asked, bless you, by Karen Henderson, and mass access to, because of my involvement, I'm on the cable advisory TV renegotiation committee, as well as you guys know, I have a TV show and I've done that for a couple of years. So I was asked to provide testimony and it actually won't be in, I can't go in person, so I'll be sitting on a Zoom call for about 4 hours until they call for me to speak, which should be lots of fun. But it would be done on behalf of this board and the town. You have in your packet some comments that I intend to kind of make, to share, and I would largely be following the letter that was already previously submitted. It's just the live testimony that needs to be given in support.
I would move to authorize Select Board Member Marshall to provide in-person testimony on the board's behalf in support of Senate Bill 34.
Second?
Any questions?
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for doing the work.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
This is great.
Well done.
Okay, good.
All those in favor?
Let's do it.
5-0, 5 being present. Shelby, thank you.
You bet.
Do you want to do the town manager report?
That'd be great.
Okay. So updates on hiring. Of course, we welcome Jenny to the Director of Planning position, and then we've also onboarded Police Officer Derek Stark, Firefighter Michael Mearsman, Joe Grillo, Maintenance Craftsperson in the Water Department, Ryan Blight as the ZBA Board Secretary, and Mike Amadon has returned as a full-time dispatcher. Additionally, we're finalizing offers with candidates for the positions of IT Network Systems Administrator, which was a new position this year, and also Sustainability Coordinator / Community Development Assistant, also a new position this year. For the police chief hiring process, we're working with town council on options for the board's consideration related to hiring. So we've talked before about some of your different options, but there's been some questions about how, maybe in more detail, we might pursue some of those different processes. So working through that, and we'll have that for the board at your next meeting. For the Waste Management, staff and representatives from the Waste Management Exploratory Committee and Board of Health have been working with various haulers in preparation to develop an RFP for curbside waste management, which is what the Waste Management Exploratory Committee had recommended to this board. Through various discussions with Harvey's or Waste Connections, or owned by Waste Connections, about both the FY24 contract and the town's future program, they are now advising that they would be willing to discuss keeping the transfer station accessible to residents for the foreseeable future, with some adjustments to current practices and enhancements to the facility and traffic patterns. So working with Harvey's on kind of what that would look like and understanding that, but knowing now that they are willing to continue that access that we currently have to the transfer station. And we'll be discussing this with the Waste Management Exploratory Committee tomorrow night. Emergency Assistance Shelter, town officials continue to meet every other week with representatives from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which is formerly DHCD, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and then the on-site provider, which is SMOC, the South Middlesex Opportunity Council. So they've advised as of last week that there are approximately 75 homeless families placed in Westborough hotels. This is consistent really with the information you've previously received. We had about 65, and then they had notified us that we would get an additional number of families. And then we expect that the emergency assistance shelter will open in August, which is on track. They had said the summer. So. And then for grants, we've been awarded the Mass Trails grant for design of Section 2 of the BWALT project, so the Boston Worcester Airline Trail. That's a $440,000 grant for design of Section 2. And then also the town had appropriated $110,000 in matching funds at the March town meeting. So moving forward with that. And then we've also been awarded a grant for the Regional Emergency Communication Center, which is described in the department updates. The police department, the police chief attended the Dole Chauncey Lake community meeting along with fire chief and the assistant town manager to discuss residents' concerns related to the shelter. About 130 residents were in attendance. The department's community engagement team had a table at the block party and handed out about 250 police-themed rubber ducks to the children while the chief took his turn in the dunk tank. New police officer Derek Stark started on July 1st, and then another new officer, Joe Badgley, will be graduating from the police academy on July 28th. In the fire department, as I mentioned, we did, on July 7th, we were notified that the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security and the State 911 Department awarded the town a $4.7 roughly $1 million grant for the creation of a regional emergency communication center in Westborough. So funding is for management services, architectural services, and construction. As I mentioned, there's a lot more to come on that. So just we'll be working through the details of how we move forward and then reporting that back to the board, involving both Ian and Sean in those discussions as your representatives to that issue. The Westborough Fire Captain Ed Mannion retired on July 6th after 35 years of service to the town. Public Works Department, they welcomed Joe Grillo to the Water Department. The sewer line work will take place on East Main Street between the Rotary and State Street and along Willow Street and Mayberry Drive from July 16th to July 24th between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Previously, that was actually going to start a week before, but this is updated dates. July 16th to the 24th. They're finalizing a contract for the consultants to support related to the implementation of the Stormwater Utility Fund. They want to do a public thank you to the DPW staff who supported the recent Touch a Truck event, 5K fun run, block party, and Oldham Road Eagle Scout project. And then despite recent wet weather, water restrictions remain in place, so the restrictions are in accordance with the water withdrawal permit. So we're at level 1. Outdoor watering permitted before 9 a.m. and after 5. In the Board of Health, the presence of West Nile virus was confirmed by the Massachusetts State Public Health Laboratory in a mosquito sample collected in Norfolk County on July 6th. While no human or animal cases of West Nile virus or EEE has been detected, so far this year residents are reminded to use precautions. The public health nurse held a prevention screening and awareness clinic for skin cancer on June 29th. The farmers market started on June 15th and has been a huge success with over 30 food vendors. And then 24 out of the 26 public pools have been approved to be open for the season with all safety measures meeting standards. And then they have 5 licensed camps this year that have all been running safely. And that's it.
All right. Christy, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, it being 6:17, we can continue the public hearing for Torito Westborough LLC DBA Torito Mexican Restaurant at 291 Turnpike Road, related to a Section 12 all alcohol restaurant license and common vehicular permit. Big choice of that one. Any?
Yeah, so this is a continued public hearing from June 27th and from some previous meetings related to some additional work that needed to be done at Torito. I know Chief Purcell is here and can probably speak to the status of the certificates of inspection. That's what we were waiting for, was a completed certificate of inspection in order to move forward with the liquor license, which is required for the liquor license and the convict. So.
Good evening, Patrick Purcell, serving as your chief. We did a final inspection at that occupancy today. Everything passed. We have all the paperwork that we asked you for the delay on last time uploaded. Everything was great to go. They did a great job with the system. If I didn't tell you last time, we did find a problem, or the vendor found a problem with the system. So this was a not all for naught. They found the system was frozen solid when they did the work. So that has been mitigated and fully operational. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now that they have their certificate of inspection, the board can just close the public hearing and we would issue, or they would continue to have those licenses in full effect because all the required documentation is there.
Okay, and there was also a change in liquor license associated with this, or is that separate?
And that was taken care of this morning.
Okay.
Yep.
So both components are complete? Okay. Questions?
No, I think it's
Concerns?
just want to thank you for working with the town, and you've been here for multiple meetings, but we're happy to be able to close the public hearing and have you continue with your business, so thanks.
Thank you for your hard work.
So you just need a motion
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Right, now, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
Johnson, yes.
Edinburgh, yes?
Welch, yes?
Marshall, yes.
Keo, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have a presentation from the food pantry. Oh, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for coming.
The pictures, or are you just going to speak to
Well, we'll find out. I don't know, I believe you all had it in your package?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The pictures are impressive. I don't
Well,
know.
thank you, I take good pictures.
Yeah.
Good evening, my name's Phil Kittredge, the past president of the Westborough Food Pantry, my wife, the past co-president, and Polly Thayer, our new vice president, Dave Smith, our new vice president, and Paul Loopold, who we strong-armed to becoming our new president.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
We retired as, Don and I retired as co-presidents after the last 11 years, and Paul has stepped up to the head spot. And the officers may have changed, but our mission still remains the same, and I will still be around running the store and picking up food. So can't get rid of me that easy. Are there any questions on any of the presentation that you had in your package about the repairs and upgrades we've done at the community house over the last few years?
No, it's just great work.
Great summary.
Thank you.
Well, we've got some great volunteers that we know how important that building is to the town, and I know that sometimes money is tight for the town, and we're pretty much the exclusive user of that building lately. It's been our feeling that we'll take care of what needs to be done, and we've got, again, we've got great people that wash the floors, clean the bathrooms, another volunteer with his son, his special needs son. He enjoys coming to the pantry and doing all the vacuuming and the cleaning, so it works out great. We're here tonight because every couple of years, we were asked, probably 5-6 years ago, come by every couple of years, just give a quick update, what's going on with the pantry. And because we do work very closely with the other departments here in town, even though a lot of people think we're a town department. A couple of people I want to thank. First, Christie and the Select Board for your continued support of the food pantry. The DPW has been spectacular for us every winter. We have a lot of elderly clients. The parking lot is, I know it's not the top priority in town, but the DPW is always there. It's always plowed. It's always sanded and salted, so our seniors, especially our seniors, feel comfortable coming down there, and I really appreciate that. And another unsung hero is Jim Stewart, the municipal buildings and ground supervisor. Every time we have a problem or an issue, we see something that comes up, I talk it over with Jim, explain to him what some of our issues are, and he makes suggestions, we work it out, so that the vendors that do work in that building are approved vendors by Jim. We don't do anything on our own until it's all cleared with Jim and we get his blessing. So, really briefly, some of the board members may not know, the Westborough Food Pantry was founded in 1986 by Bill and Emily Libby and 15 other church members, and it was incorporated in 1991, and they were feeding 22 families. Today we have over 75 volunteers, and we're feeding 190 families that all live here in Westborough. To give you a quick breakdown, these families consist of 157 children, and all of these attend the Westborough schools. 231 adults, and what's been our biggest growth area is seniors. We're now serving 110 seniors. We've seen a marked increase in seniors over the last couple of years. Last month, we had 495 guests obtain food at the pantry in 1 month, and for the year, we had 5,244 unique visits. Estimated food and personal products distributed last year was 331,000 pounds of food. And this would not be possible without the support of the students and faculty of the Westborough school system. Just recently, through their efforts of Mr. WHS, They provided the food pantry with a $20,000 donation. All the schools conduct food drives and a little competition between the schools to who can bring the most. It works out great all year round. The state representative, Hannah Kane, runs a golf tournament every year. A third of the money generated from that goes to the Westborough Food Pantry, approximately $20,000 every year. That provides us with the farm stand coupons that we issue to our clients every week, so they can go to Barbarians, Nurse Farm, and Harvey Farm to get fresh vegetables every week. The Stop and Shop store manager, Kim Yankee, a Westborough resident, has been absolutely spectacular to the Westborough Food Pantry. You people need to know how generous Stop and Shop is to us. We're one of the few food pantries in Worcester County that is allowed to get food directly from Stop and Shop because of our long-standing relationship with them. They donate to the food pantry over 100,000 pounds of food every year. The Boy Scouts, the local postal carriers, the Appalachia Service Project, local civic organizations, and finally the residents of Westborough, they're the ones that provide the food for the food pantry. We are 100% volunteer. Nobody gets paid, which makes us a little different than some food pantries. And that's about it. That's just a little brief history on the pantry, and I want to turn it over now to Polly Thayer so she can explain a little bit what's going on with our senior program.
Good evening, Polly Thayer. So we started a program for our seniors. During COVID, we noticed that they weren't coming to the pantry. So with a couple of phone calls and chatting with several of them, they just weren't comfortable coming. So we said, okay, we'll bring the food to you. So we started our program with serving about 10 seniors just to see how it would go. Give me your shopping list. We'll go around the food pantry, package up your groceries, and we will have folks deliver them to you. We started out with 10. Right now we're up to 30. So we package up 30 individual bags of groceries on items that folks want. It's not, here's your bag of groceries. It's tell me what you'd like. We'll put that in the bag. And it's delivered to their doorsteps. So we've got 2 different routes, and the drivers go off Tuesday mornings, and everything's delivered from fresh bread to chicken or beef or milk or whatever they want. So that has been a really nice program for our seniors. We're really proud of that. And we don't think any other pantries are doing something like that. The other thing that we've done for our clients is a voucher program. Again, from COVID, before COVID, there was community dinners, and we would support one of the churches, and they would have it open for anybody to come, and we would supply them with pasta sauce and pasta and that kind of thing, and they would do the cooking or whatever. Couldn't do that with COVID. So with the funds that we get contributed to us or donated to us, we decided we would give our folks a voucher. So say, for example, you come in today, here's 2 $10 vouchers to go use at South Street Diner. Go have breakfast, lunch, whatever with your family. That $20 goes a long ways. So we did that with South Street Diner. 2 months later, we did it with Sabatini's. Then 2 months later, we did it with New York Pie. We've done it with Westborough House of Pizza. And now we're doing it with Yeoman's. So every couple months we do this. Folks get a voucher. If they decide not to use it, and it sits in their top drawer, we haven't paid for those, so it's not money out of our pockets until I go to New York Pie and say, okay, how many vouchers do you have? Give me the vouchers and here's a check for that. So it really works out well. The stories that come back, some person said, my husband always has wanted one of those waffle cones from Yeoman's, and we finally could afford it. How simple is that? So we're really giving money, giving our clients something that they probably can't afford to do, but we're also giving back to the local businesses here in town. So it's a win-win situation. And now we're doing the farm stand coupons. Every time you come in, here's a $10 voucher. You can use it at one of the 3 farm stands anytime between now and the end of October. And it's a win-win. They get fresh fruits and vegetables, they choose, and then we go back to the farms and say, okay, how many do you have, and here's a check. So again, it's all thanks to the contributions that we get from our local folks here in town. Any questions?
All right, now I'm going to introduce you to my replacement, Paul Loopold.
Thank you. Thank you all. I've been the president for 11 days. So I'm probably not going to be able to answer any of your questions, but I just want to try to continue all the great work that's been going on for all these years before now. And that's all I can really hope for. And thank you for the opportunity that you guys give to us. It's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that closes our presentation. Does anybody have any questions or comments about what we're doing?
I would just say, having known the Libbys personally, Mrs. Libby was a teacher of mine in school, and we were at church together with her family, and I did spend a lot of time in that, helping out as a kid with the food pantry, and certainly I volunteered for a short period of time, and I'm so proud of the work that you guys have done. Phil, it's amazing. I certainly really appreciate all the years of dedication to the town and the community. And Paul was my mentor, teaching me how to go over to Stop and Shop and load up my truck 3 or 4 times on, I think, one occasion to bring in a couple hundred pounds of food. So it is a service that is sorely needed and unfortunately needed, but it is well regarded, and I know that people in the community really appreciate it. These people who don't always have a voice or don't feel like they can come out and speak about their situation. And it's great that we can provide them a place to come and get food. And food inequity is a real problem, unfortunately, these days. So I'm super proud of the work that you all do and that this is happening in our community. So thank you very much. And Paul, I look forward to you in your new role. And certainly if you have any questions or if you need my truck, just give me a holler.
Thanks very much.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know so many stories you can tell. I just, being involved with the Boy Scouts and that the senior citizen dinner they do every year and the donation, well, as you said, basically, the pasta and sauce to help us put on that for the seniors. It's always well attended. We started at the Congregational Church. It's moved more recently to the Senior Center, but it's just, again, something that, partnering together to support those folks in town. I know the seniors always enjoy it, but again, thank you for doing that. Thank you for all that you do. It's an important piece of this town. It's about taking care of our residents. So thank you all.
I'll echo and thank you for your years of service and dedication, and not just creating an effective organization, but a creative organization that, as we heard tonight, goes above and beyond what is typical. And even knowing that your clients' ability to pick their own food, as opposed to simply show up and receive a bag of what's available or what's there, is so important. And that it goes to even respecting the dignity of individuals and families who are struggling to get by. And so for the Kittredges, thank you for meritorious service, and for the current and new leadership team, thank you as well for stepping up. This doesn't work without the commitment of volunteers, and very much appreciate it.
Yep, so echoing everything, I won't repeat them, but I agree with what my fellow board members have said. I do have a couple questions, and since this is your time on sort of the big stage, so I know you have a robust and really effective volunteer group. Do you need more volunteers? And if someone was interested, how would they contact the food pantry to see how they could help?
Well, I just happen to have our volunteer coordinator with us. Vice President?
Through our website, there's just a thing if you want to contact us.
Okay,
And then that starts the email chain. And,
excellent. Okay.
But we welcome any and all new volunteers.
Excellent. So volunteers always needed, and I know from just the numbers you put before us that have grown, you've been before this board as long as I've been on, and The numbers, as Patrick stated, unfortunately have continued to go up, which means donations need to continue to rise with that and stay ahead. So as it relates to drop locations, could you just, for the community, tell folks where those are if they can't get to the pantry to donate?
We have a location at the fire station under the control of Chief Purcell. We have a drop location at Stop and Shop. We have a drop location at Roach Brothers. And if somebody has a business or somebody has a food drive and they have a large donation, they can call, just leave a message on the answering machine, and we'll make somebody available when it's convenient for them to drop it off.
Okay, and I know in terms of the specific types of things that you're looking for, oftentimes on the website or Facebook page, there will be a post of we're in particular need of those items. So if someone is doing a particular drive, we do encourage them to contact the food pantry just to kind of say what are the items you're looking for?
Right. One of the things that we're always looking for, in addition to food, we do personal products at our food pantry. Some pantries do, some don't. As you may be aware, if you're receiving SNAP benefits, they don't allow you to buy toilet paper or even deodorant or toothpaste. You just can't use them for that. So every week, we try to have an item that's not available through SNAP benefits that our clients need. And one of the biggest items that they ask for is deodorant. But we give out toilet paper usually once a month, paper towels, toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, bar soap, all of that. So at least they're getting it. They may not get it every week, but at least they get something every week, something different. So
Excellent.
and that's what we've encouraged some of the businesses to do. The Knights of Columbus has been wonderful with that. Every month when they have a meeting, they collect personal products for us, and they drop it off down at the food pantry. So
Well,
everything that comes into us, we can give out.
great. Well, I think, and Alan made the point, I think it's not just providing food, but it's really thoughtful about, what doesn't SNAP provide? How could we kind of really enhance benefits already and the other programs? So thank you. So my last question is really around financial donations. If someone wanted to maybe set aside something from their estate, set aside money on a monthly basis, would they make a phone call? Is there a way through the website to make a donation?
Yep. One of the things that we've done is when we reorganized here about 6-7 months ago, we did a lot of things to streamline the organization. It's a lot different than it was 30 years ago. Finances are more extensive. So we created a finance committee similar to the town. So that committee is charged with investments, procuring funds. My wife Dawn has been very aggressive in the grants, applying for grants. So if they need information about if they want to leave, we've had some donations from estates. Usually an attorney will handle that beforehand, and it'll come right to the food pantry. But call the food pantry and we'll put them in touch with somebody from the finance committee.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for the questions, for all that you do, and please extend the board's thanks
thank you.
back to all the volunteers.
And again, you have no idea that the Westborough Food Pantry would not be as successful, and we would not be able to do what we can do without the use of the community house building. It really makes the difference. That allows us to do, as you notice, the selection process. The clients can come in and pick what they want. Pantries that operate in a church or rent or use temporary space, they don't have the luxury of that. They meet the night before, fill the bags, and when people show up, they just give them a bag. And our experience with that is if I give you canned corn and you don't like canned corn, you'll most likely just throw it away. I'd rather have it there for somebody that loves canned corn to take that when he comes to the pantry. So, again, thank you very much.
It's a great partnership.
Yeah. Phil, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful job, much appreciated, and thank you for your stewardship of the building.
Okay, we take care of
photos
it.
and
We
things
like
really
that
look
building.
fantastic, and you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
But tremendous job always, and tremendous job tonight. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we have a request of the Veterans Advisory Board for use of Veterans Freedom Park for a flag retirement ceremony.
Good evening. Marshall Preston, one of the members of the Westborough Veterans Advisory Board. I think Jim Tepper, our chair, shared via email the basic outline of the request. But through COVID, I know there was a Eagle Scout project of collecting flags, and then after the Rotary, it sort of has dawned on us that we haven't had an organized event, and we thought we would help spearhead it. So the current vision is Saturday, September 30th, 1 p.m., and the request to the board is to use Veterans Freedom Park. The National Lancers have graciously agreed to participate, and I know through the Eagle Scout project at the fire department, we've got about 6 bags that the Scoutmaster is dying to help retire. We've got some old flags off the Rotary recently that are also ready to retire, and then a stack from last year's receipts off of the cemeteries. So there's a little bit ready to go, but we're also hoping that we'll get buy-in from the community and participation with youth, and sort of run down a program of this is how you respect a flag, this is how and where you can dispose of it, retire it, and then this is the process for doing it. So a little bit of education and ideally a participatory event. Any questions about that initiative?
Thank you.
No, I would just say thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's a great way. I love all aspects of it, and thank you for the pre-work with the relevant town departments to, come ready to go, and look forward to attending it. So thank you.
I'll move to concur with the town manager's approval of the flag retirement ceremony at Veterans Freedom Park on September 30th, 2023, subject to any requirements of the DPW, police, and fire departments.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? 5-0, 5 being present. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Next, we have remote work policy.
So this was brought to you at the last meeting for approval, and there were some questions specifically related to the use of employee's personal computer. So in talking to the IT director, Mark Stockman, who is here to answer any questions that you might have, we did remove all references to use of personal equipment or personal computers, understanding that the majority of the employees that this would be applicable to either have a laptop currently that they're able to use or are able to borrow from our sort of bank of laptops that are available. So we did remove all of those. I also removed, there was some references to supervisor and then director. We just sort of cleaned that up and took out supervisor. Given the folks who this is applicable to, there's no need to have, there's not really multiple levels of supervision or approval. The one that's in your packet, Shelby had pointed out, had, I guess when it converted, had some spacing issues, so Owen's gone through and made sure that that's all set. And then there is one place where we replaced supervisor with director, so it referenced director twice, so we cleaned that up. And then there was one under section H, employee-owned equipment, number 2. There was a sentence that read, remote workers are encouraged to contact the information technology department for consultation on appropriate hardware and software, which we are removing because we're not using that anymore. But everything else that's in here, I think, we feel like it's ready to be approved.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you for removing the home one. I think that was a concern of all of us in terms of that. So, Mark, any comments you have, or?
No, I think this is a good policy. I've reviewed it. It meets our needs, and I think it'll be very beneficial.
Okay. Then I move to approve the remote work policy as presented and amend the personnel policies and employee handbook to include the policy.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nice
very
job.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a discussion of American Rescue Plan projects.
So The board has awarded, so I guess just stepping back, our process since we've received the American Rescue Plan funds have been for departments to make proposals. They fill out these forms that we have created internally. They submit them to my office, and then we present them to the finance team. So just for the public, that's inclusive of the chairs of the Finance Committee, Select Board, and School Committee, as well as finance folks from both town and school, inclusive of the superintendent. And so then we work through the proposals, and then we bring recommendations to the Advisory Finance Committee, who then vets those proposals and makes their own recommendations to this board. And so we have gone through that process, and we obligated the majority of the funds. So the town received approximately $5.7 million. We identified that we had approximately $400,000, $390,000 uncommitted ARPA funds. We're working to obligate those funds, understanding that they're required to be obligated by the end of calendar year 2024, and then spent by the end of calendar year 2026. There has been discussion at the federal level about the potential clawback of these funds. So certainly that's something that we've been watching, specifically around the raising of the debt ceiling. Obviously that didn't happen. But so in front of you today, you have you have all of the proposals that were presented to us, which the total amount requested in this most recent round was $781,544, so obviously exceeding what was available. And so we did work through the proposals and make recommendations. So the recommended projects are a daybreak program at the Council on Aging, lead service line investigation, DPW, matching funds for the downtown development plan, technical rescue equipment for the fire department, $100,000 towards hiring of firefighters in the fire department, 8 desktop computer replacement for the library, and then a Mill Pond security camera system. So you also have the Advisory Finance Committee votes in front of you. So ultimately, the majority voted to support these proposals. And then we do have folks from some of the different departments here, in case you have some additional questions. And those who aren't here, I can help answer questions. So.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. Do we want to walk through each of the projects? Are there specific projects that folks would like to ask questions around?
I think we get we receive the packet, but the public doesn't, even though we do have all this information. Christy, I apologize if you mentioned this. This information is available through the Select Board page under ARPA funding, so folks can look at this in detail, but I do think it would be helpful if Christy could just walk through the amounts, generally what they're for.
Yeah, so do you want to take them one at a time, and we'll start with the daybreak program? Okay. Our Council on Aging Director is unable to be here because tonight is the first night of the Tuesday night activities going on at the Senior Center, so happy to walk through this program. The daybreak program is a program where caretakers is really for caretaker respite. They can bring whoever they're taking care of into the daybreak program, and then they can leave them there and be comfortable that they're being well cared for during a period of time. So it's a program that actually exists across multiple senior centers, and so we're proposing that we would offer this on Saturdays, and so Alma has gone out to understand the cost of training for folks to be able to care for these individuals. And then also as part of this program, she's interested in exploring the ability of volunteers to go into households and care for people at their homes instead of being dropped off. But that's something that we're working through in terms of how that would really work. We feel like this program was an outcome or directly addresses some of the recommendations or concerns raised in the senior needs assessment. We actually increased the amount of money. So as the ask is for $7,500, we increased the amount of money from what the actual cost would be so that we could make the program free, at least for the first year. Our intention would be that if it's successful, that we would put it into a future budget as a budget item. And so that has been recommended to fund by the finance team and finance committee.
Do you want to vote on them one at a time or go through all of them?
I think we can vote on them as we go. Would you like to make a
Yeah.
motion?
Yeah, I would move to award the Council on Aging $7,500, I believe it is, of ARPA funds for the purpose of funding the Daybreak program.
Second?
Okay, any additional questions?
I think it's great. Yeah.
All those in favor? 5-0.
Okay. So the second, I should probably say that the total amount that we're recommending is $383,000. So the uncommitted balance, if all of these are approved by you, would be about $4,500. But we also know that there's some money that might come from additional projects, and also money coming from the interest earned on the funds in the bank. So. For DPW, Chris is here, so I'll let him speak to the lead service line investigation. That's a $50,000 proposal.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we're currently doing a project to inventory all of our service lines in the town. So a service line is the line that takes the water from the pipe in the road and brings it to your house. And that's a requirement from the EPA for every public water supplier in the country. So when we get this project done, we have this inventory that says what types of service lines are out there. We're looking for lead because we don't want lead, and so if there are lead, we have to then mitigate it. So this list is being put together now based on documents. So someone's reviewing all the documents, basically pulling out everything we can prove by documentation that says there's no lead in the service line. So then we're going to have a number of service lines that are left that either we don't have documentation on, or it's unclear, or whatever. And so we have to do something to further investigate that. And that's what this money is to do. It's to further investigate that remaining balance. And that investigation could be any variety of things. It could be digging up a line. It could be taking a picture in somebody's basement of what their service, as it comes to their house, what it looks like. There's a whole number of ways which we will use this money to pay for, and that helps us basically complete the entire survey, get an accurate picture, and then take it to next steps beyond that, which is, if we do have any lead service lines, then we have to replace them, but it's way down the road. First, we got to figure out what we have. And so this is basically step 2 in a process to figure things out.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I guess I apologize if you said this, but I just want to make sure I understand. We're talking about the line from the water connection in the street to the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, my understanding is that's usually the responsibility of the homeowner to dig up, to maintain, repair, all those types of things. So in the situation where that line is found to have lead, or perhaps you, as part of this $50,000, you need to dig up the property, is this every house that's built before a certain time? I'm just trying to think of how this would work. I mean, $50,000, when I think of the hundreds and hundreds of homes perhaps in the community that could be in scope here,
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't seem like a big enough number, but, you know.
And it may not be, but it's enough to get us at least a certain amount done.
Yeah.
When you start the process, you start with, your total number, and you want to whittle that down.
Sure.
And so I think it was 1986 when we started building installing service lines that don't have lead. And so theoretically, everything after 1986 is good. So that number that's like this is now, cut in half, or whatever that number is for Westborough. And so that's how we're reducing the number now. So it may not actually be as daunting as it might sound right now. I mean, we don't really know the answer yet, but we can speculate based on what we know of our records and the age of houses around here and
things like that. So, so $50,000 will get us a lot done, and
So is-
potentially complete the project for us.
So is this like a spot check where you like do, hey, we'll check one out of every 50 homes, or is it like every house in that? in the
No,
community?
it's only the houses we can't already validate don't have lead.
Okay.
And if you have so we keep records when someone puts in a service line, there's a document, or there should be, with us in our engineering division. It's a tie card that says, here's where the line is, here's what it's made of, here's when it was put in, here's who inspected.
Okay.
So we're using those documents, but, in recent years, those are correct, but if you go back 50 years, it might not be as correct, or it might not have all the information that we need,
Right.
now. And so that particular home may not say what type of line it is, so we would have to do something else to figure out what type of line that is.
Gotcha.
This money allows us to hire someone to go investigate it, or whatever the solution, this money pays for that kind of second
Super important.
investigation.
Makes sense, thank you.
Can I just ask a follow-on question, Chris? And I know this is not part of step 2, that you said this is part of the inventory process, but once that, if there is lead identified, and as Patrick already said, that's the homeowner's responsibility, is there a time frame? I mean, you're doing this work because it's required by, I believe is it federal or state?
Federal. Yep.
Okay. And so if a home has that, and, I mean, there's a pretty significant cost that wouldn't be anticipated, that would be on the homeowner, but is there a time frame in which they would have to do something?
The inventory has to be complete by October of 2024, and then I believe it's 2026, or it's several years after 2024 that the mitigation has to be complete. So.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So just to follow up on Shelley's question, do you know if there's any grant money available to the community for residents who may be impacted by this? Because to your point, it could be thousands of dollars to remove a line and bring a new line to the house. Just wondering if the federal government or the states providing any funds here.
Yeah, I'll be frank, I don't know, standing here 100% certain whose responsibility it is to replace that line, and it potentially is not the homeowner's responsibility. So I don't
Figure that
know for
out
sure.
in step 3.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
If the number is 0, then it doesn't matter for us, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah, okay.
important for us
Okay.
right now, I guess,
All right.
is.
Chris, one more question. So this gets you started. If it isn't enough, then come to fall town meeting to sort of figure out the balance?
Yeah, we'll have opportunities via town meeting, whether in October or March, to take further steps, whatever those might be.
Okay, this gets the ball rolling.
Yep, and our timeline allows that, and we've factored that in.
Excellent. Any other, no questions?
No, I'll move to award the Department of Public Works $50,000 of ARPA funds for the purpose of funding the lead service line investigation.
Second?
All questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
So the next project for your consideration is the $10,000 matching funds for the downtown development grant. So I worked, when we were moving through our transition with our director of planning, I worked with the chair of the planning board, as well as our community development director to apply for a grant for the downtown development plan. And that's really an outcome of looking at the master plan and the focus on the master plan and trying to drill down in what exactly we would need to do related to zoning and other things to meet the goals of the master plan in the downtown. So we engaged CMRPC and we worked through that grant application process, and as part of that, we did note that we were going to be going through this process requesting $10,000. It's a matching fund, so the grant would be $100,000, and then we would provide this match if it's approved. But we're clear that we had to go through this process. So looking forward to hearing about the grant in September, October. Looking forward to handing that over to Jenny, and then we'll be working through that. But again, this is similar to the MassWorks grant, where the matching funds, that $10,000 would only be used if if we receive the grant. Otherwise, it would fall back to that uncommitted balance and we would go through the process to commit it somewhere else.
And the balance has to be committed by
The end of calendar year 24.
24.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions? Motion?
I'm sorry, Christy, who is the grant with the 100,000? Like where's that?
So we applied through the Community One Stop, so there's a couple different potential
Okay.
options where it would come through. But the state.
The state's
Yeah.
community, okay,
Yep.
yep.
I'll move to award the Community Development and Planning Department $10,000 for the Downtown Development Plan.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
So the next two projects are for the fire department. So I'll let Chief Purcell speak to those, but just wanting to note that the technical rescue equipment was proposed to be or recommended to be funded in full at the $22,954. Chief Purcell had asked for 3 additional firefighters. As you probably remember, going into the fiscal year 24 budget season, the fire department had requested 4 additional firefighters. We did include 1 in the fiscal 24 budget, and we acknowledged that we would be coming back with a request to use ARPA funds for the 3 additional firefighters. In having this discussion at the finance team level, the recommendation was to fund $100,000, fully supportive of adding those positions to the department, but wanting to bring a portion of that request to town meeting for town meeting's approval. And so what we are asking is that in addition to approving the $100,000 to go towards additional positions, that the board be willing to support an article at the October town meeting for the other 2 firefighters. So, but Chief Purcell can answer any questions.
Hi, Patrick Purcell, serving as your fire chief. I start with the first request for the technical rescue equipment. That was for, that request has been made on behalf of the department for the amount of accidents or crashes that we respond to, particularly on Interstate 495, the off-ramps on and off the Mass Turnpike and the Mass Turnpike itself involving large trucks. We recognize that we go to a lot of crashes, particularly rolled over tractor trailers or significant crashes with cars involving tractor trailers. It was highlighted in a recent DOT study for this interchange project that's going on, where I was shocked to see the stats that 1 in 4 vehicles there are a large truck, and we don't have necessary equipment to stabilize those vehicles or to protect the first responders that sometimes often work underneath them the right way. This is called the Paratech strut type of equipment, newer technology for us. We did have a small portion of it that was funded by the Department of Homeland Security, about $10,000 worth, but that the portion that we got is enough for like a small vehicle. This will help us expand to cover tractor trailers and protect the staff from getting hurt when they work below them. What it is to hydraulic equipment that is used, that has the ability to expand and support large amounts of weight. So we would use that to stabilize vehicles when they're on unstable footing and allow us to do the work that we need.
Questions?
I'm just curious, does that get transported on one of the existing trucks, or does it?
Yeah, the heavy rescue truck.
Yeah.
Yep, the one that goes to all the car accidents would have that equipment. We did, when we designed the truck in 2018, we actually left space to accommodate future needs for things like this, so it will fit on the truck nicely and complement our existing equipment.
So I'll move to award the fire department $22,954 of ARPA funds for the purpose of funding technical rescue equipment.
Second.
Right, all those in favor? 5-0.
So the second request is, we originally had requested, to build a timeline, we had been trying to get our staffing up because of the increased call volume. I think you've all heard me ad nauseum. as recently as the budget summit, with a lot of the things that we're taking on, our time getting rid of patients at the hospital is not decreasing at all. As recently as this Saturday, we spent over 3 hours standing in hallways trying to transition patients over to the ER staff. And frankly, when we have more than one call today, that at a time, which is every day, all day, as soon as the second ambulance needs to go out, the ladder truck becomes out of service, and as soon as the third ambulance goes out, the staffing on the fire truck is reduced to a driver and the officer on the truck, and that's it. There's no firefighters in the back seat anymore. We're trying to get our staffing up so we can shuffle our staffing a little bit and get the second ambulance staffed around the clock. That is important for the department. That is more important for the community, especially the safety of the community. And also, I'm not sure 100%, but we're looking to kind of help with that response of what's going on the other end of the hospital, to make sure that we have a second truck available here in town. We've seen our requests for mutual aid go up significantly. We see the development that continues with the hotels, and what's going on in the Sharp building. We signed off on another 50-unit apartment building a week ago at the Pulte project. That has become a very busy complex, higher call demand than we thought. We cannot keep up with the staffing that we have now. It is dangerous. It is dangerous to our staff, dangerous to the town, and we really look for you to support. With that money, I would like to, as the manager and I discussed at the Finance Committee, even though it's $100,000, I'd like to ask you to be a little loose with that money. We're already into the fiscal year, to see how many we can get out of the $100,000. That was a conversation that we had with FinCom. I might be before you to ask the fund too, because it is going to take time for me to advertise and get people through a physical ability test and a physical and a psychological exam, then the notification to their current employers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm hoping to be able to fund as much, up to 2 with that money, depending on when we can get their start date. So I would ask you to be a little bit liberal with that and not label it for a specific amount of personnel. And what that will do is that'll get 3 of our groups up to 11 firefighters, but we almost never operate with that amount. So like today, we're operating with 10 per group, but we work to a minimum because people are entitled to their benefit time, so we work to 8. And when we work at 8, that's when we are really in trouble with the second ambulance or the ladder truck or the full staffing on the engine. I think you heard me talk at the budget summit. We're at a crossroads here with cross-staffing apparatus. It's here. It's here. I mean, the data is, if you don't want to look at call volume or any of that, just look at income on the ambulance. We're up over, I believe, over $500,000 more this year than we expected to be, just in collecting ambulance revenue due to volume of calls. And we're here to start making decisions about where we're going to go with that staffing, but we're ready.
Question, so an article at Fall Town Meeting, if approved, that money would then become immediately available at Fall Town Meeting? Okay.
Yes.
So sort of what you're saying, Chief, is that if we support an article at Fall Town Meeting, essentially, that approves, that gets you to this total of 3, right, then effectively the money for whatever's approved then becomes immediately available. So I guess we're trying to determine how much of this you can use to get you to that date, assuming town meeting approves the additional fighters, is sort of what you're trying to.
By the time I get people going, I have one person that's on our list right now from a previous process that we did that I could probably hire tomorrow. They just need to give notice. Well, they have to go through, I'm sorry, I take that back. They have to go through the things that I spelled out for you. The timing of this with their salary, even if I have to push the second one just a little bit, I'd like to see if I can get 2 bodies off of the first $100,000.
First 100,000, right, right.
It's important, and I think that we can do it. We kind of worked through some of the numbers. I think we can do it. I would just have to use my existing budget to support some of the things that we budgeted in for that 100,000. If we broke down to 300,000, it was for 3 employees plus their turnout gear, plus their uniforms, plus their physical, and there's like, I would just have to divert and try to figure out a way within my budget today to support those things. Really, the most expensive part is their their portable radio, where we're expanding, it's like expanding a fleet of vehicles. You have to put a radio in it. Well, now I'm expanding my staff, I need to put a radio in their hand, and that's the most costly part, believe it or not, out of everything that we have to buy them.
We were also acknowledging that there's some retirements in the fire department, so there could be savings there. So, so that was part of the request as well, that that the chief sort of have the flexibility to use that 100,000 just towards hiring up to 3, understanding that we're not going to be able to hire all 3 with the 100,000.
So that's exactly a great point. For instance, last Thursday, we had Captain Mannion retire, a 35-year veteran, maxed out paramedic, master's degree. He was getting the full max out of everything when he retired. Obviously, somebody new coming in the door. There's a differential in rank. There's a differential in a lot of things. Maybe they're not a paramedic. Maybe they don't have a master's degree. So there are some savings there. Whatever step they start, somebody's not going to start at. Sure. 25-year longevity step.
I would move to award the fire department $100,000 of ARPA funds for the purpose of funding new firefighters. And second would move for support of a fall town meeting article for the remainder of that funding.
Second. Just a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Question on the motion. Do we need to set it to 3 firefighters?
I just left it loose for additional firefighters.
Yeah.
I respectfully would request that you left it.
Totally open?
Yeah, and then I think I have to come back
Okay.
before the board anyways.
Yeah, we would have to amend the classification plan. So we will have to amend the classification plan at a future meeting to just the number of firefighters.
Okay. So the second part of that, I don't know that requires a vote. I mean, it's a recommendation for a town meeting article. I mean, is that really?
I think that we were hoping that the board would vote to support that.
Okay.
So.
That sounds good.
So,
So it's basically support of putting a motion on
Okay.
Article on
article on the
Excellent.
town
Did we
meeting
get a
warrant.
second? I'm sorry.
Yes.
yes,
Alan.
Alan.
Alan did.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
So I guess I'm just a little bit confused, although very supportive of everything that you've said, Chief. So the initial request was for this, not the technical equipment, was about 300,000, which was estimated to be enough for 3 positions.
Yes.
So what is before us, though, is out of ARPA, 100,000, to do what you will, 1, 2, likely not 3 is my guess, but unspecified amount of firefighters. So I'm supportive of that, but I guess I'm just wondering if we leave it open-ended as a motion for support of a town meeting, don't we need to sort of cap this
At 3?
request to a maximum of 3? I'm not saying, I know you need more.
I'm not going to get 3 out of it, so you can cap it at 2 if you would like.
No, except,
Do you guys see where I'm going with
I
this?
see where we're going with it. However, we're not saying what the motion to support the amount of money and the number of positions for the town meeting warrant article. That would come back, and we would have a discussion about that based on, with the $100,000 now, was he able to hire 2 or
Yep.
just 1? What's the timing? What do the retirements look like? We may not need all $300,000 in total, 100,000 now, 200,000 later. And it would still go through the process. I see that the way the motion was worded is basically saying we will plan on having a warrant article on this topic.
For
But
some amount of money.
We don't have enough knowledge to know
Well,
how much money we
yeah.
need at this
But
point.
So
I think
full
what she's
trust.
going-
I have full trust in our chief, but by leaving it open, it could be like, we're supportive of 5 or 10 or what
Yeah,
have
so
you.
I would.
That's my concern.
So I can, I
kind of-
hear what you're saying, and Patrick said too, so I would amend my motion to, on the ARPA, for up to 3 firefighters. So not just additional firefighters, up to 3 additional firefighters.
And to support a
Motion for additional funding.
motion for additional funding.
A town meeting warrant article for additional funding for those firefighters on the fall town meeting.
Does that
Yes,
That works?
make
That's
sense?
great.
I would second that.
Okay, all right. I
You
just,
got that, Celia?
I do
I
second
would like
that.
Ian to repeat that.
I know.
Never.
Okay.
Okay. No, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, I appreciate the
Oh, good.
clarity, yep.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? 5-0.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you, Chief.
support.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I would note on the memo that the board received from the chair of the finance committee, they were fully supportive, 8-0 on both of those, but they did also have a second motion that the AFC recommended any additional ARPA funds that become available be used for additional firefighters in the future. So that's different than the process that we've currently gone through. I don't think you need to make a decision on that right now, but they did make that motion and they voted that 7-1.
Okay.
So. And then the next two projects that are listed are from the library. So our Director Amiot's here to speak to those. One of them is a bookmobile, which was not recommended for funding, and the second is computer replacement at $19,500, which was recommended for funding and was supported by the Finance Committee 7-1.
Maureen Amiot, 6 Arch Street Library Director. The request for computers, I'll talk to first since that was recommended to be funded. That request is for funding to replace 8 desktop computers for the public and 2 staff desktops. These are computers that we purchased in 2016 and 2017 that were due for replacement in the last 2 years. At the time, we decided not to replace them, expecting that we would possibly be in temporary quarters at this point or at some point in the future, and we didn't want to store new computers that would then become obsolete or would be aging because we didn't know what our temporary space would be able to accommodate. So instead, we added memory to our oldest computers to help them kind of limp along and get us through. And then we all know I don't have to go down that road of the last year. So now we're a year further down the road, and our computers are aging not gracefully. So we need the funding to replace these. They're computers that are not able to be upgraded any further than what we've done. We also, in preparation for this request, I went through with our technology librarian and just kind of did an inventory of where we're at with our technology, and we realized we have 28 computers throughout the building, staff and public. And at the pace we're going, we're only requesting enough funding in our budget to replace usually 3 per year, which is really not sustainable. That's going to have us replacing really ancient technology. So we'll be working on a plan for a different replacement plan going forward. And that's something I've already reached out to Mark to talk with him about so that we can sort of be in line with what the rest of the town is doing and making sure that we're buying the right equipment. We don't know how long we're going to need desktops. We may transition to laptops or to some other technology that we aren't even aware of yet. But right now, we do need the 8 for the public, which are heavily used, and the 2 for the staff. We think staff are going to be on desktops for a while because that's the most secure connection. That's a recommendation from CW Mars, who provides our internet service and provides a secure internet network for our circulation and any of our, sensitive type information.
Can I just ask a clarification? So this, because the cover sheet, it says replace 8 desktop computers, but just to be clear, this is for 8 desktop for the public and 2, so a total of 10.
Correct.
Okay, for staff. Okay, yep, got it.
I move to award the library $19,500 of ARPA funds for the purpose of funding 8 desktop computer, 10 desktop computers.
Yep.
Replacement 10 desktop computers.
All those in favor?
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do you have questions, or is there information you would like about the the bookmobile proposal, it was recommended not for funding, so
Yeah.
I didn't bring a ton of
I
information.
think I would just, if you don't mind, Sean, sorry,
Go ahead.
I would just, while I understand, based on the information in our packet, why that wasn't supported, and ultimately we'd love to be able to support every project that came forward, but I'll remind the board and the public of the approximately 6 million we received from ARPA. We had 14.5 million, requests that initially came through. So surely an overabundance of asks versus what we actually had in our, or anticipated from ARPA. Having said that, I do think that there are several elements of the bookmobile that were presented that are not, we might think of libraries as primarily for kids, or a lot of people might think, oh, it's to kind of go and visit kids. There are several elements in the request that speak to seniors and those and kind of adults in our community. So as we think about our the senior needs assessment going forward, so I'm supportive of that the bookmobile is not on the plate right now for ARPA funding, but as we think about addressing some of the needs through senior needs assessment, I certainly encourage our library director to collaborate with our council on aging director to figure out how we might bring some of those services forward, even more than we're doing now, even without a physical vehicle, and to follow that work of the senior needs assessment, because there may be something there that this bookmobile initiative kind of calls for and elevates it as a priority. I would also say that there are a number of individuals in our community that may not have transportation. They only have one vehicle, and we know that public transportation in Westborough is not a strength of the community. And so this bookmobile would certainly address issues of equity and equality that I know that this board and the town is committed to. So anyway, thanks for the opportunity to provide the comments.
Thank you. I have a question. So in the future, if this project were considered again, would it require additional individuals to support the bookmobile within the library?
With this proposal, we intended to use our existing staff. If it's a service that grew beyond what we could accommodate with our existing staff, then maybe down the road it might, but we have 3 staff members who do our outreach services. We call them our outreach team, who visit Arrive apartments, and then weekly. And then we do alternating weeks or less frequently to some of the other apartment complexes. We would love to be able to visit more. We just don't have the capacity to do more right now. And they're using their personal vehicles right now to transport things. So it's loading up bags or boxes or crates, and having a vehicle that's equipped, that has a collection that lives on that vehicle and rotates through would be ideal. And hopefully someday, I'm not giving up on that dream, we'll have the funding either through capital requests, grants. We're still looking for grants. And when I was at our national conference last month, I talked to some people. There's actually a section of our national association devoted to bookmobiles and bookmobile staff. So I got connected with some of those people and talked to them, and I'm waiting for some information back from them about how they funded their bookmobiles, where they found grant funds. Did they work through local car dealers? Like, how did they acquire their vehicles? So hopefully we will see one in the future and be able to reach some of the people that just can't physically get to us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then the final project is the Mill Pond security cameras for $174,000. And John Green is here to answer questions for the school department.
Good evening. John Green, Director of Technology for the Public Schools in Westborough. So this project in brief is a security camera system for the Mill Pond School, similar to what we have at the high school, the Gibbons Middle School, and the Fale School. Also the new preschool has one as well. System is focused on the entrances and exits and also the hallways so that we can see who comes and goes in the building and where they go within the building. Does not include classrooms, and it is designed to be compatible with the systems we already have and to give coverage on the interior and exterior of the school.
Question? Just a question. I mean, this is a school, so I'm imagining there's protocol or laws in regards to the safety and the, as far as recording of students and teachers and their workspaces, et cetera. How does that get maintained in our system like this? Is that, are you guys storing the data internally? And
So we don't record in
okay.
classroom spaces or private offices or bathrooms, locker rooms.
Okay.
So we record in public spaces in the building and outside the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Essential, so,
Yeah.
do you want to?
And this also will work like the high school where the police have access
Yes.
to the feed?
Yep.
If needed, in an emergency. Okay, thank you.
Ian, you're on a roll.
Yeah, I'll move to award the school department $174,000 of ARPA funds for security cameras at Mill Pond School.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming this evening.
So those are all of the projects that were recommended. Again, there's $4,509.74 of uncommitted funds, understanding that any residual balances or any interest earned will increase that number. And we already know that interest is being earned and increasing that number. So we'll be back probably in months ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all the work from the finance
you.
team
Yes.
and others on that. so.
Solid process.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you to all the departments who put together their proposals.
I think your, I think your last thing is the
Appointments.
Right?
Yep, sorry.
Reappointments, that's where we're at. All right, request for reappointments. We have 3. We actually have one of those individuals here. We usually don't get folks to come in. Can I get a motion?
Sure. Just go through the list here. Okay, so I'll move to reappoint Bethita Schuman to the Cultural Council for a term to expire June 30th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
I'll move to reappoint Maureen Amiot to the Spirit Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0.
And I'll move to appoint Andrea Zonak to the Spirit Committee for a term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
We are now up to issues and correspondence of the board. Can I get a volunteer to begin? Ian?
I will go quick. We have a meeting tomorrow, just because the July 4th week, not a lot of meetings, but we did receive, I don't remember the final number, 1,600, some odd, over 1,600 survey responses, with over half of those having not just survey responses, but free-form responses, which is what we asked, we wanted to have in there, so appreciate everyone's diligence on that. That closed on June 30th. Owen's done the work to put it all together and shared it out with the committee. We have a meeting tomorrow night, so it's our first meeting since reviewing that, where we'll begin the process of discussing the survey results and the comments. So more to come on that, but it is, again, a public meeting that we will be having tomorrow night at 6:30.
Thanks, Sam.
That's all that I have right now.
No updates this week.
All right.
None for me. Sorry.
I just want to acknowledge the students and parent volunteers who are at down south, if you will, on the Appalachian Service Project. It's a huge program, and I know from talking with some of those students and the parents that it's an unbelievable experience. So I wish them well and thinking of them and all the great work that they're doing, and thanks to all those involved to make that program possible.
Thank you. And I just have one thing. The Economic Development Committee, one of their initiatives was a community pop-up, and that has opened. It is over at 57 East Main Street, Unit 139. It is the Higgy House Books. They're now open, and they will have a ribbon cutting coming up July 20th from 11:30 to 12:30. People are invited, but they're also already in business. Please stop by and support them. With that,
You know what, I forgot to mention one thing, Christie, I don't think you mentioned it, but our newsletter is out.
Oh, yes.
So our quarterly, second edition of the quarterly newsletter is out. It's available on the website. Folks can subscribe to it. Great, lots of information in there. Christie could have taken probably another half hour talking. So encourage folks to take a look at that, download it, and find out what's going on in the town.
Some good reading.
yes. Well said. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion?
Yes. I move to enter into an executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, R.E. Ferris Development Group LLC versus Town of Westborough Lax Media LLC and Lax Media MA LLC. Worcester Superior Court, CA number 2285 CV 01281. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the town's litigating position. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, RE Town of Westborough versus Westborough SPE LLC, Worcester Land Court, 19 TL 000768. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the town's litigation position. And under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property at 1500 Union Street, if the chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the town's negotiating position. And under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, RE residents of Westborough Station, Northland TPLP LLC at 100 Charlestown Meadows Drive, Worcester Land Court Case Number 22 MISC 000445-DRR. If the town chair declares that an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the town's negotiating position. And under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A7, to act under the authority of the Select Board to approve executive session minutes of June 27th, 2023, Sessions 1 and 2.
I declare that an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the board's negotiating, litigating, and bargaining position. The board will not be reconvening in open session after executive session. Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Johnson, yes.
Edinburgh, yes?
Welch, yes.
Marshall, yes.
Keough, yes. Meeting is ended. Thank you, Westborough TV.